He is a PJTV commentator and drummer for the band 20 Pound Sledge, and he joins us here today. So thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Gina.
So President Obama's been heralding the Iraq War as a big victory, but it doesn't look like it's going to turn out that way. What are your thoughts on the most recent occurrences?
The most recent, the only victory that he seems to have is this victory, this Jedi mind control that he's able to have over his constituents. And so I know people are thinking, some people get excited that, people are disappointed with Obama and that he's a failure and so on and so forth. It's like they may be getting disappointed with his image, but they're not disappointed with what he represents. They're just going to pick somebody else, to take his place with the same policies, same military policies, same foreign policies, what have you, whatever those policies are. So that's what he's most successful at. And it's also, his successful efforts to blame other people also seem to stick as well. So in terms of like what he's doing in terms of victories on the ground and dealing with our enemies who he's so reluctant to call terrorists, I really can't say much for that.
Yeah, it seems like there's just one scandal after the next scandal. So he's almost put people's brains in overload to where those of us who don't live, sleep, eat, and breathe this every single day are just saying either they like him or they don't like him. They don't want to hear scandal, 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 scandal straight down the line every single week, over and over, one worse than the next. Is this just a Mideast turmoil distraction from other scandals, in your opinion, or do you think that he's actually going to act on this?
He'll act on it all right, but he's not going to act accordingly. In terms of the scandal after scandal, it's basically each scandal is almost like something that comes up to cover up the next, to cover up the previous scandal. I mean, it's just the timing of this one. We had, the incident with the VA scandal. And right now that's kind of getting brushed by the wayside by this developing, scandal. So it's one thing to just kind of hide something else. And as usual, Obama doesn't know what's going on. And I wish, it'd be great if people could realize, if Obama's trying to play innocent of everything by not knowing what's going on. Well, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that this was going on. I didn't know about these calls, so on and so forth. And it's like, okay, well, then people realize that this is a president who constantly doesn't know what's going on. He's incompetent. He's admitting to you that he's incompetent, and he's admitting to you that he's out of the loop, while at the same time trying to front like he's got his finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. Which one is it?
Yeah, the one thing I can say is he keeps us guessing. Like, I can never decide if he doesn't know what's going on or if he knows exactly what's going on. And it's always a little bit of a juggle to try to figure that out within my own head. You look at things like the fact that if this goes on, it's going to drive up oil prices. That, of course, is a beautiful excuse to fuel his green agenda. If oil goes up and gas costs more, he can start forcing us to buy more electric cars from his environmentalist buddies. So this all plays out very well for him, no matter how it comes down on the American people. What role do you think that part of his agenda has in this whole Middle Eastern relations?
Well, as far as I know, that's been a long objective to, one, make us dependent on foreign oil and to make sure that the price of fuel goes up. That way it makes the green industry look more attractive.
Right.
That's been a long, I believe even Al Gore stated that objective a long time ago. I'm not going to give the exact year, but the objective has been stated. And, and I've mentioned before that, when people try to say that 9/11 was some big conspiracy to go to war for oil, the ones with the most blood on their hands in terms of blood for oil are the ones who don't let us explore more drilling in our own country. Yeah. You keep us dependent on foreign oil, then that's blood on your hands. And so this Obama doing these things to make the green industry look more attractive, then yeah, in that sense, I would say that stage, yes, he's a part of that.
We lost a lot of lives in that war, and and then you look at Afghanistan and the things he's doing there. Then you look at him saying we need to clear out Gitmo. Then you look at him leaving our Mexican war hero 2 tours of duty, Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi, over in a Mexican prison, and you look at him releasing Bergdahl. The American people half of the American people are completely deaf to all of this. How does that make any sense at all? Can you make any sense of that, Zoe? I guess I'm asking you to do a little psychological analysis here, but it makes no sense. And then you figure in gas prices related to everything we're talking about right now. And it just, I
I
can't imagine that he's not being pushed out of office. It's just mind boggling to me.
Well, I gotta say that I'm honored that I would have, the doctor even asking my opinion on her show. That's very affirming and flattering, and so I thank you. But in terms of doing a psychoanalysis on him, I understand. I get why he's doing it. I've pondered the question: is he really evil, or does he not know what he's doing? I've pondered all those things. And for me, that part is insignificant in dealing with how the people allow this to happen. And I've even explored that too. And then I explore there's the people who buy into it, and then there's the people who are letting it happen,
Yeah.
and then there's the people who are angry about it happening, but at the same time, you kind of let it happen. So I can't put all the blame on Obama. There's a cultural aspect to this too. That's why I
true.
keep saying over and over and over again. I know these people are looking for some sort of political solution. The solution isn't about the politicians. The politicians are put in office to represent what the culture wants. You have to get that idea to the culture, and then we can fix these things.
Yeah. So where do we start on that?
We start on things like how we're talking about on your show, and which I am so thankful that that you do and that you recognize, and from there it's making sure that this kind of content keeps growing and it's expressed in many different ways. We do have we've got our talk radio, we've got Fox News, but there's also the talking about it, and then in other ways it has to be illustrated. We have a culture that they have to hear these things they have to see these things in big, bright, pretty colors, or they need to hear it in a good song, or they need it told in a joke or some sort of anecdote and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have a lot of those things to challenge what the left is already doing and has been doing for decades.
Right.
They're way ahead of us in this game. So we got a lot of catching up to do, but they've shown how the formula is done. We take the same formula, load it with different content, and do it with redeeming value.
Like music, for example, and movies, and a lot of the other things that good conservatives in LA are working on, yourself included. Zoe, what are you up to these days? Where can we find you?
Thanks, Gina. My website is alfonsorich.com, ALFONZORACHEL.com. I feature my content from PJTV, Zonation, and I have my rock band, 20 Pound Sled. So I know that there's a lot of music out there that turns people towards a more secular and leftist and selfish mindset. Our music does the exact opposite. And, these mediums, they have such a powerful impact on people. And if you want to show them, what it is that you're thinking and how they're being deceived, these are mediums that you want to use to make these illustrations.
Yeah, I love it because I love to address the culture issues, and that's why I did the show Wife Swap. That's why I go on Comedy Central sometimes. That's why I do Al Jazeera. And I love that you enter that arena as well, that cultural arena. How often, Zoe, do you get a letter from someone who just hears your music and they maybe were one of those people who was asleep and they say, "You woke me up"?
Not as often as I like, but it does happen. And that's what it takes. Sometimes we're going to do this, and it's going to take one person at a time, and hopefully it has that germic effect where they tell their friends, and their friends tell their friends. But it's going to take a legion. They have a legion, out there trying to steer the country a certain way. We're going to have to, form our own army and let people know. That no, there's there's a better solution, and we have to present it in a more interesting manner. And and I give kudos to you for taking the step to go on certain shows and stuff like that. And what I would really like to see though is where conservatives get to a point where we don't have to use their platforms. We don't have to go on their show.
Yes.
We don't have to go on there and be.
We don't have to listen to their music. We don't have to see their movies. I totally agree. I think that's great, and that's why I love what you do and what you're fighting for, and using your skills and talents to communicate your message to people who might otherwise never hear it. Because when all we do is preach to the choir, we're not changing anything. And I think that's a really important part of what you do in that breaking through the culture like that. So I appreciate your work. So I appreciate you coming on the show today as well.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Absolutely.